On August 21st, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Nintendo announced that Charles Martinet, the voice of Super Mario, is stepping down from voicing his role. Here is Nintendo's release statement. Charles Martinet has been the original voice of Mario in Nintendo games for a long time, as far back as Super Mario 64. Charles is now moving into the brand new role of Mario Ambassador. With this transition, he will be stepping back from recording character voices for our games, but he'll continue to travel the world sharing the joy of Mario and interacting with you all. It has been an honor working with Charles to help bring Mario to life for so many years, and we want to thank and celebrate him. Please keep an eye out for a special video message from Shigeru Miyamoto and Charles himself, which we will post at a future date. I know a lot of people said that Charles Martinet didn't sound quite right in Mario Wonder, and that it even sounded like a completely different person, and now this confirms that those people were right. It's honestly a little somber to hear, to be honest. It is nice to know that he still will be involved. Him and Nintendo seem to be on good terms. He will be a Mario ambassador, which I'm not quite sure what that means, but again, he's still going to be involved with the role, whether he's voicing the character or not. So that's really heartwarming to hear, especially when people saw that paragraph. A lot of people assume the worst. It's going to be strange because for 30 years, over my entire lifetime, Charles Martinet has been the voice of Mario. Not just Mario, Luigi, Wario, Waluigi, Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, all sorts of voices. He voiced a lot of my gaming childhood, and I'm sure your childhood as well. Since he's voiced the role for decades and shown his talents for the character, it's gonna be really strange to just see it passed off to somebody else. How he voiced Mario entertained me and a lot of people. Which makes me think that we should really talk about how Charles Martinet has made an impact with voicing Mario. He's done a lot for the character, and it wouldn't be quite the same without him. So, today, we're gonna talk about Charles Martinet and his impact on Mario. First, let's start with the beginning of how he got the voice for Mario. It's always been entertaining to me. According to an article, which will be linked in the description below, Martinet was just hanging out on the beach one day when he got a call from a friend. The friend told him about this audition for an Italian plumber character in a trade show, and how he should just crash the audition and go for it. So, Charles Martinet did just that. He went over there and arrived literally just as the producers were leaving. Literally when they were putting away their equipment. He was begging for a chance to read for the part. And you know what? They said, go for it. Fine. The producers told Martinet that it was an Italian plumber character from Brooklyn and to just go for it. And then Charles Martinet went.
And all of a sudden I hear action. I go, hello, I'm Mario. Let's make a pizza pie together. You go get some sausage. I'm gonna get some spaghetti. We put spaghetti in the sausage and the pizza. And he said, cut, stop talking. There's no more tape. All right, thanks. We'll be in touch.
And that's it. He did the lines until the tape ran out, and they said they'd be in touch. Now keep in mind, this is a post-Mario 64 world. A world where we didn't have the identity of Mario that we do now. People knew of him as a rough and tough, gruff-sounding plumber, where before, he was voiced like this.
Hey, paisanos, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show!
Or this.
Luigi, we got a broken dishwasher at the Riverfront Cafe.
Or even, this.
You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
Nintendo doesn't like to talk about it. The point is, Mario sounded pretty rough and gruff with the whole New York accent that most people assume the character would have. That's what they pictured for Mario. Martinet had basically a fake Italian accent, something you would hear at a pizza chain restaurant for kids. Completely different than what has been done before. And Martinet knew this. In the article, he mentioned he wanted to do something more gruff, but couldn't really think of something he wanted to do that wasn't done before that quickly on the fly. And he wanted to go with something a bit different, the iconic voice we know of, because it was something kids could enjoy. It was for games, after all, and Charles Martinet didn't really know about games or anything like it. He just knew that this would be for kids. And while he was told to keep in touch, we all know what happened. Martinet was then asked to voice the character in little things like the trade show, demos, even games like Mario Teaches Typing and Mario's Gaming Gallery. But then, shortly after, they liked his voice so much, he got his big break in voicing the character in a game you might have heard about. And just like that, with the release of Mario 64, the voice of Mario was set in stone. Since then, he's voiced Mario in over 100 video games, voicing nearly half the cast of important Mario characters. If Mario was in a licensed Nintendo game, he always voiced it. He also voiced the characters in Luigi's Mansion, WarioWare, and of course, reprising all their roles in games like Smash Bros., with him voicing the most amount of fighters in a game by far. His voice for the character has become so iconic, it rivals Mickey Mouse. Some even consider Mario to be the Mickey Mouse of video games. And honestly, I agree with that. Even people like my parents who have never touched a video game in their life know who Mario is. And they knew him before the movie came out. That's a huge impact. He brought life to the character. He brought optimism. He made the character so simple, but also really fun to be around, fun to listen to, fun to enjoy as we heard his voice throughout all the games. He always sounds so encouraging, always wanting to give another try in whatever game you played. And a lot of it is because Charles Martinet is so talented. Which makes sense because he's done a lot other than Mario. A lot of people tend to forget that. He's not only classically, literally Shakespearean trained in acting and voiceover work, but he's voiced a lot of roles before and after voicing Mario. He played Wilson Phillips in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, voiced Vigoro in Skies of Arcadia, he voiced Gimli in Lord of the Rings The Third Age, Orvis and Ratchet & Clank A Future in Time. Heck, before he even voiced every character in Mario, he literally voiced every character in Super Punch-Out! Even in the Mario movie where he didn't play the title character, he still shined with not one, but two roles. He played Giuseppe, I think that's his name anyway, literally making the reference to Jumpman. Funny enough, he played Mario and Luigi's father in the film. Not a lot of people caught that one. I certainly didn't my first time watching. And yes, it does make me cry that the last thing Charles Martinet uttered in his voiceover work so far about Mario is that he referred to Mario and Luigi as his boys. Yep, that hurts! But with all that, the reason that this makes such an impact is not just because of the man's talents, it's also because literally no one else has voiced this character. People grew up with Charles Martinet as Mario, arguably since people could first play video games. While other iconic video game characters like Sonic, who had a few actors in the past, or characters like Link, who had no voice actor at all, Martinet is an exception, and has been the voice of this character for years, decades. And it's going to be strange to hear someone new do the voice. It's something we're all going to have to get used to. But if I'm being honest, it does kind of make sense, even if I don't want it to. The fact he has been doing it for years probably has gotten to him at least a little bit. I know he's quoted saying that he wants to voice the role until he dies, but that was 2 years ago. A lot can happen and a lot can change over 2 years. Your voice changes, it gets older, things change, and you're not able to do what you were able to do before, at least not as much. It might have been a lot harder for Martinet to do all these voices in the time Nintendo wanted. I know when he was doing Luigi in Luigi's Mansion 3, he honestly sounded a bit weaker to me. More out of breath, more tired, like he was struggling at points. A part of me didn't want to believe it, but the warning signs were there. And that was 2019, about 4 years ago. Imagine how his throat and voice have changed now. A lot of people said this was Nintendo's decision alone and that they kicked him for the curb and gave him a placeholder title. But I just don't think that's it at all. I think Charles Martinet did have a say in it, and they did want to keep him around as much as they could. I feel like that's why they offered him the position, so he could still be close to the character, because he is still passionate about the character, even if he's not voicing him. However, that does lead to the conversation of, if Charles Martinet isn't voicing him, who is? I hope it's not Chris Pratt. Right now, we don't know who's voicing Mario, but the good news is, we already have heard it in the Mario Wonder trailer. Some people had a lot of trouble even distinguishing them from Martinet, so that fact alone is a good sign. We won't know until the game comes out. We might get a name leaked until then, but it's not like they're just gonna give it to Chris Pratt because he was in the movie. Speaking of, That may be why they're keeping the new actor of Mario kind of quiet. When it was revealed Chris Pratt was Mario, people hated it. People despised it. People were laughing, making jokes about it. People did not give him a chance. I'm one of the firm believers that Chris Pratt did fine. Just fine. Nothing too crazy. But even then, he got a lot of hate. Whoever does have the role of Mario has some crazy shoes to fill. And Nintendo, and maybe even the voice actor themselves, may not be ready to reveal their identity yet. It's gonna be huge, and a lot of people on the internet are going to have eyes on this guy. And a lot of people are going to judge them quickly and even harshly because of it. I understand why Nintendo wants to keep this quiet as much as possible. In the end, it's going to be weird. It's going to be strange. The same thing happened with Mickey Mouse. It's just going to be an overall strange experience that you're not going to be used to until you get used to it. I feel the new guy is going to do fine. He sounds fine already in the Mario Wonder trailer. This is Nintendo's flagship franchise here. They are going to make sure they put all the effort they can to make Mario sound like Mario. And they'll get the right guy to do it. Movies are one thing, games are completely different. And like I said, Charles Martinet isn't completely out of the picture. We don't know what a Mario ambassador does. For all we know, he could be coaching this new guy and getting him through the ropes and helping him out with voicing the character, giving him ideas of how to read lines and how Mario would do this and do that. We don't know a lot. We can hope that, but we won't know for sure. In the end, this is all speculation. This is all stuff we'll know in the future. But one thing I want to say now is that Charles Martinet, you were an amazing Mario. I know change is inevitable for a character like Mario, but those 32 years of him voicing the character were extremely enjoyable. And you could tell he enjoyed every single moment in it. He warmed our childhoods with his welcoming and friendly voice and helped us fall in love with the games that we played. He helped guide us through each level as we jumped courageously through levels, stomping on Goombas and Koopas as bravely as we could, venturing off to Bowser's castle to save Princess Peach and the Mushroom Kingdom from all the dangers we could. He was there with us. His voice was cheering us on. He really helped make the Mario games what they were today, and the character what he is now. Mario may not have taken off as much as he did if it weren't for Charles Martinet. It's tough to say, but what if Mario did sound rough and gruff like in the past? Would he have made that much of an impact? I think Charles Martinet really did bring some new life into this character. I still remember hearing him as Mario for the first time when I was playing Sunshine, and how he made me laugh with his lines and yahoos and wahoos, and how he always had a positive attitude that made me excited to play. As a wannabe voice actor myself, Charles Martinet really heavily inspires me to go above and beyond and voice the character as best as I can, because that's what he did with Mario. He lived and breathed this character. He was this character. He still is. You could see how happy he is in interviews and interactions with fans of how he loves and adores being Mario and playing Mario. That's never gonna change. I'm gonna miss you as Mario, Charles. I hope you see how everyone really appreciate all the hard work you've done over the years, and how you really have made such a magnificent impact in the Nintendo and gaming community.
Thank you so much for playing my game.
No, Charles Martinet. Thank you so much for being in our games.